happy Thursday, September 7th, 2023, and welcome to a brand new edition of what we like to call the Clash of Le Champions. I am your host, the vegan you believe in, Kurt Cadet, aka Conscious Kurt in the flesh as always, and this gentleman here needs no introduction, but he is going to give you one anyway.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is his tag team partner, Jonathan Randall, the adventurer himself. And ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our brand new wrestling podcast episode. You could follow us on Instagram at champs.clash and on Twitter at the Champs Clash. On Twitter, ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, we're just coming off the heels of an amazing Payback pay-per-view headline in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. It was a great pay-per-view. Kurt, what do you thought about the event?
The show was great. The show was a lot of fun, but that wasn't the biggest story that came out of Saturday. As earlier that day, Saturday, it came out that CM Punk was terminated by AEW.
Yeah, that pretty much took the whole before the event even started. That was pretty much like the main headline of the wrestling world. There was a newspaper. That would have been the main headline. It would have been, no offense to Payback though, but Payback would have been in the second page of the article. But the main page would have been, yes, CM Punk got terminated by AEW. And it's so crazy, Kurt, how last week's episode we were talking about how Tony Khan needs to take a stand. He needs to put his foot down, be more disciplined leader in his role. And then now we found out about this. And I have to tell you, man, I'm not surprised. I'm kind of like, wow, Tony Khan really did something, but terminated. That's just crazy, man.
This is the official statement from Tony Khan. Phil played an important role within AEW, and I thank him for his contributions. The termination of his AEW contracts with cause is ultimately my decision and mine alone. Of course, I wish I didn't have to share this news, which may come as a disappointment to many of our fans. Nonetheless, I am making the decision in the best interest of the many amazing people who make AEW possible every week. Our talent, staff, venue operators, and many others whose efforts are unsung but essential to bringing our fans great shows on television and at arenas and stadiums throughout the world.
Wow.
Also, before Collision on Saturday, which was in Chicago, ironically, he came out to address the audience and let them know about, CM Punk being fired and why he had to do it. And he also went on to say, like, in the 30 years that he's been going to wrestling shows and even producing wrestling shows, that he had never once felt up until All In at Wembley that he never felt that, like, his safety or even his life in general was in danger like he felt on that night.
Yeah, that's pretty much how it all escalated, man. And what's crazy about speaking of the Collision show, so that Saturday after Punk had got terminated, so it shows that during the opening quarter of this Saturday's past episode, it only drew 472,000 viewers. So after Tony Khan announced that he fired CM Punk, only 89,000 people tuned out, down to the 383,000 viewers, a loss of the 19% of the audience. The show went below 250,000 viewers by the end of the final full quarter. Crazy. That's a big plummet, Kurt. All because of what happened.
Actually, you want to know what? It is a big plummet, I will admit that, but you have to remember, Saturday they were also going against Payback, and they were also going against college football.
Yeah, that is true. That's true.
I'm not saying Punk getting fired didn't have anything to do with it, but you have to consider those two things also. And even with CM Punk, they were more than likely going to take a hit in the ratings anyway. But with that aside, I just want to say that Tony Khan did make the right move by letting him go. In all honesty, he should have let him go last year after the whole scrummage happened and all that whole backstage brawl happened and all that. Because I said, like, after he went off that way and, like, had that meltdown, there was no way he could walk into that locker room again.
And it also is this is like a life lesson too now that everybody should learn. And also is something that I've learned as well. Sometimes, with the right, especially with certain people that you deal with, you can't give everybody second chances, man. Tony Khan felt last year at that time, he felt like, maybe, actually give this person another chance, and it turns out it backfired on him.
I could see why Tony Khan would have wanted to give him another chance because he is a big star. He does move a lot of numbers. He is a big draw and all that. I
Yeah.
get it. But with him acting the way he did that night and also the fight that happened afterwards, and also not to mention the stuff he was saying, like even before he came back, like those like Instagram stories he was putting out and all those stories we were hearing about him not being happy even before he officially came back, it's like I could just definitely get the vibe, and I know a lot of people would feel the same way. Is that like he wasn't worth the headache? It was not worth the headache that he brings.
Hmm. I'm not surprised by it. Um, it. I was more thinking about he's going to get fined and suspended though, but determination is just like, you know what, this is. I'm not surprised. It's like now, but okay. So moving forward, like the biggest question is now everybody's speculating that should WWE should bring him back. I don't know about that. I just that's boy oh boy that's everybody's speculating about that. I already know what you're going to say, Kurt, but just it's all been in there now because of what happened.
Well, if you had said this a year ago, I would say no. I wouldn't even consider it. But the only reason why I would
Hmm.
say maybe it has a chance of happening, well, two reasons at that is for one because of him visiting a couple months ago. Remember that time we talked about it, how he came to visit Raw backstage, like back in April, like when they were in
Chicago,
Chicago.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, like that.
I
Yeah,
remember.
that felt kind of odd, admittedly, that he did that. But
I don't know, man. Still, I mean, he stepped on a lot of toes when he left, even though that was almost 10 years ago. But he has been talking to a lot of people lately, especially with the last time you were telling about when, Raw was in Chicago. But I mean, you got to remember Survivor Series is going to be in Chicago in November. You know what I mean? So everybody's like, oh my God, what if he shows up for that event? You know what I mean? But I'm a maybe at this one.
I'll say this much: never say never, because of the fact that one, he had that meeting with them.
Oh,
He had that meeting with them a few months ago, and also with the whole Endeavor merger, like about to be official on Tuesday.
yeah,
UFC is also going to have a say in whether or not Punk would come in. It wouldn't just be like a WWE call, so they might want him in
true,
that regard.
true. That is true. I forgot about that. I never really looked deeply in that aspect. I know they're doing the merger though, but I didn't realize that WWE will have the last say when it comes to certain things.
Yeah, so like it's not just like their call in that regard. It's gonna be also UFC's
Wow.
call
Wow.
call too. So it also could
Mm.
go down that way too. There's also like a lot of shit coming out that Punk probably got himself fired on purpose because after he had that meeting with WWE back in April, they probably talked about that, and that's why everything's gone down now the way it did.
He did it on purpose. That's funny.
I wouldn't put too much stock into that, but I've seen that float around a little
Oh, man,
bit.
I know. That's crazy. If you want to get yourself fired, I mean, just tell him that you want to leave. I don't know. I mean, I don't know what was CM Punk's contract with AEW when he came back this year. You know what I mean?
Apparently he had more than one contract. He had like a wrestler's contract and also an employee's contract where he was like a an EVP because basically Collision was his show and on Collision he was basically I guess the EVP if you want to get technical.
But I wonder for how long though.
I don't know, but I could just tell, like even before he came back, like like I told you with that Instagram story that he put out a few months ago, and then those stories about even before, like he was about to come back, him and Tony Khan were like having disagreements. So like even before he came back, he was already causing headaches. I could just tell like this shit was not gonna go well. And ever since he came
Mm,
back, he did that one promo on the night he came back about the Bucks, and then he gets into it with Dolph Ziggler's brother, and then he has like people banned from Collision, like Matt Hardy, and then he had that initial argument with Jack Perry, and then he cuts a promo on Page like after the show's off the air when they're not even working a program together. And then obviously what happened in
wow.
All In a few weeks ago, where Jack Perry, who admittedly was in the wrong for doing this, basically like says "Cry me a river" to the camera, like I guess referring to what Punk did to him. And then right afterwards, they get into it backstage, and apparently, from what the stories are coming out about it now, is that Punk was the one who started it. Like Punk was the one who got in his face, and then Jack Perry was basically saying, "I'm just trying to get heat as a heel." And then Punk shoved him, and then put him in a choke, and then Tony. and then a whole bunch of people try to break it up, and then Tony Khan was like yelling at Punk to let Jack Perry go, and then supposedly Punk lunged at Tony Khan after this and like started yelling and screaming at him and telling him that I quit, I hate this place, I'm done. And supposedly like a bunch of monitors fell down like near Tony Khan and everybody else, like as this all was happening.
Wow.
So I guess that's why Tony Khan said in that statement, like never did he feel like he was in danger or like his life was threatened, like it was on the night of
Mm-hmm.
that.
Right.
And if it did go down that way, if Punk was the one who instigated the fight and it all went down that way, then he had to go. Especially after the fact that this whole thing happened last year on another monumental night and it happened again this year on their biggest night ever. Yo, the dude has to go. I'm not saying that he's completely in the wrong in all these cases and that he didn't have any legit reason to be upset, but the common denominator in all these scenarios was him. And with that being said, he had to go.
I know. You got to go, man, and just killing the whole entire vibe, and especially when you're just getting into it with if a guy like Tony Khan, you know what I mean, if a high guy who's just in power of everything, and you're just getting physical with him and all that stuff. It's just like, it kind of reminds me. So you remember the situation with Vince McMahon and Nails,
Yeah.
how it got physical like that? Yeah, and then he immediately got let go after that.
Yeah, of course. And Nails was even less valuable.
Right. Doesn't matter if you're high value or less value. If you're literally gonna put somebody in charge, put their well-being in danger physically, dude, you already know you're done.
Yeah, if I owned a company and an employee tried to do that to me and like try to put me in danger and other employees in danger, yeah, I'd fire their ass on the spot.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's sad it had to end this way. Like, for him to be as old as he is, to be in his mid 40s and to be still doing this kind of shit,
Yeah, man.
it's not
This is
good.
this is a true example of a fall from grace story. This is a guy who has just very good in the ring, very talented in the ring. Ring work, mic work, is a huge draw. You know what I mean? But just a lot of personal problems that affect his professional work, and it leads to a downfall to the point where you're losing, you're losing friends, you're losing connection with the company to the point where you're just getting fired. It's not the same anymore, man. It's a true example of a fall of grace storyline for CM Punk.
The best way I can put it, CM Punk is the Kanye West of professional wrestling.
That's a good point. Yeah, I believe you. Very talented person, is a huge draw, but man, personal problems just eats at you, man. And I'm gonna tell you this. So I'm sorry to change the subject. I truly believe, and I tell everybody this when it comes to Kanye West. I feel like ever since his mom passed away, he was not the same person anymore. So it was pretty much around the time of 808s and Heartbreak. He slowly started to change.
Yeah, and over the years it just got worse. Like from that, the Taylor Swift incident, and then the whole relationship with
Yeah.
Kim Kardashian that didn't help either.
What's for me, what's the sad thing? Whenever I hear his old music, it's just, damn, what happened to you, dude? Like anywhere, any timeline from his college dropout up until graduation, I'm just like, damn, dude.
Hey, Dark Twisted Fantasy was dope too.
That was a good album.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you. That was a good album. But like, I think around that time he started to slowly change at that time though. But it was more like the college dropout era through graduation era where he was like, okay, he was like normal. But I just think after 808s and Heartbreak, that's when his whole demeanor started to change slowly.
Yeah, it's sad it had to go down that way. And with CM Punk, I feel like it went like this. That first year he was back in AEW, it seemed like it was going fine. Everything was firing on all cylinders.
Yeah,
Everything seemed chill.
yeah.
But then once that feud with Hangman Adam Page started, and then he won the title, that's when everything started to fall off.
I know. And when he won the title, I was like, oh my God, this is great. This is amazing. He's fresh. He won the world title now. It was like great. And then it didn't seem like it. He gets injured. The whole, altercation of Hangman Adam Page. Just one thing led to another, led to another. It was like a whole domino effect, and it just got worse after that.
Yeah, and then when he came back, they did that whole thing with Moxley when he beat him in like that record time with the ankle injury, and then they had the match in Chicago where Punk won, and then afterwards when he won, he has like the meltdown at the press conference and just like embarrasses the company, embarrasses himself, and then that whole like brawl happened backstage in his locker room afterwards, and yeah, he got hurt in that match too. In that match, he also got hurt. So yeah, it was
Right.
just one thing after another, and then those other things I mentioned before about like even before he came back, he comes back for Collision, and Collision admittedly has been a big good show. I've enjoyed Collision the last few months.
Good ratings. Got very good ratings, surprisingly, for a Saturday show.
Yeah,
I
and
mean, how often do we see that?
and he deserves credit for the success of it, but also he's not alone in that success. But just after what happened,
No, no.
but just after it happened at All In, and pretty much happening almost 1 year to the day as the last big incident with him happened, it's like, bro, enough already, enough, bro,
Right.
grow the fuck up, enough of this shit.
hmm I want to ask you this. So CM Punk is gone, and now everybody's speculating that whether or not should he be welcomed back to the WWE almost after almost 10 years. But if he were to come back, what role do you see him doing, or where do you want to see him at?
There's only one role I want to see CM Punk in right now:
What's that?
the patient of a therapist. That's the role I want to see him in.
I know. Okay, yes, I know he does need a therapist, but like for
Even
real
Kevin
though, like,
Nash, even Kevin Nash was opening up about that, like about this whole thing. He's like saying, "Bro,
I read about that.
yeah." Kevin Nash basically said, "Bro, you need some help. Like this is not okay. Like you need to go to therapy. This is like a mental health problem."
You know what? You know what this reminds me of? I don't know if you familiar with Antonio Brown, are you, Kurt?
I know the name, but go on.
Okay, very talented football player. Honestly, I think one of the best receivers in the league when he was in the league, especially when he was with the Pittsburgh Steelers. He had a contract extension with the Steelers. He got paid well for what he did, and he deserved it. But I think after that contract extension, he just like personality wise, he just let loose. He just wasn't the same person anymore. And yeah, he had issues with Steelers head coach Mike Tomlin, and he ends up leaving. I remember he went to the Raiders, and he had an issue with the Raiders and all that stuff, and he really didn't even play with the team. And then I remember when Tom Brady went to Tampa Bay, Tom Brady gave him another opportunity. He ends up winning a Super Bowl that year, but he just after that he just wasn't. I mean, remember? I don't was it 2 years ago? Remember that one time? I don't know. I know you remember when that time he had that altercation on the sideline where he took his pads off and he left the game in the middle of the game.
I don't recall that by heart, but keep going.
Yeah, but he did that, and just and having all these rants on social media talking about Tom Brady's wife and all that stuff, just not being himself. And then and everybody in myself was saying how like, dude, this dude needs mental help. And it could be because of the concussion, and realizing we were just not finding out that this dude has CTE, and I'm not surprised about that though. But he just have a lot of mental health problems. So when I hear about CM Punk, it brings me back up about Antonio Brown. You should look him up. I know everybody listening, who's an avid football fan like myself, knows exactly who I'm talking about. So when you talk about mental health and just needs help, damn, it makes me think about Antonio Brown. Very talented football player, just personality and his mental thinking is just not on pace. It's just, yeah, Kevin Nash is right. But I mean, if he were to come back to the WWE, I mean, where do you see him at? Like, what do you see him doing? What do you want him to do? Obviously, you have to do something if you're going to come back.
Honestly, I'll say it straight up. I don't even care. I do not
Mm.
even care. I'm just so done with this whole.
Would you be
I'm
surprised?
just
I mean,
done.
I know you're dumb, but would you be surprised if he did if he did if they welcome him back?
I guess never say never, but the thing is with me is that he's said so much shit about them over the years ever since he left, and also considering the way he left, and also the way his AEW run just ended. Like if I'm WWE, honestly, I wouldn't even want to consider it. Like this shit is just not a good idea.
You also got to remember, there's some people that don't even like him. You got to remember, Seth Rollins is a main person. He does not like him. He doesn't want to be around him. You remember that.
Kevin Owens also had issues with him too on the Indies. Owens also is not really crazy about him. Also Roman.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't think Roman's crazy about him. Yeah, I don't. And a lot of people say that hate for Roman all started because of the whole CM Punk interview on the podcast where he was like, ranting about like why he left WWE. And like during that rant, he was talking about how management would always tell him to make Roman look strong in all the matches with the Shield, and kind of that's how some of the hate for Roman first began, was because of those interviews.
Ooh, I did not know that. Wow.
Yeah, it was that. And then when Roman came back, they started doing those stupid ass promos with him where he would say like "suffer and succotash," and yeah, all
Right.
that other dumb shit. But that's another story. So yeah, like the kind of the like the backlash against Roman started from that, and just in general, bro, like just the way he left WWE, and also the way he just left AEW. It's like, bro, like you're asking for problems. Like you can already tell, like even if you do bring him in, it's gonna come with fucking headaches. It's gonna come with lots and lots of headaches.
Yep.
All I'm gonna say is this. This is the best way I could put it. In a world of CM Punks and Kanye West, be a Bryan Danielson and a J. Cole.
True. Oh, yeah. Thank you.
And speaking of which, Bryan Danielson did make his return on Collision this past Saturday to take CM Punk's place for the match against Ricky Starks at All Out. And honestly, I think Bryan Danielson would make a fine replacement for Punk on that show.
Yeah, absolutely. Him coming back, that was kind of like, it's a, what's the old saying? One door closes, another one opens.
Yeah, and I think I've talked to you about this before. Like, I remember like Ric Flair years ago in an interview talking about the difference between Punk and Bryan Danielson, and he said how everybody likes Bryan Danielson, everybody gets along with him, he's a nice guy, and that Punk, although he got along fine with him himself, he just said Punk was like always rubbing people the wrong way, and that people didn't like him, and that people would always complain about his behavior. So yeah, it's like a night and day difference, and I feel that same difference also between Kanye and J. Cole. How J. Cole seems to have his head on straight. J. Cole like doesn't have like an inflated ego problem, and he's more of a chill dude.
Yeah.
Promotes more of a healthy lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
Also, there were rumors going around that Punk was gonna maybe try to come back at the Royal Rumble earlier this year and do a feud with Kevin Owens, which obviously didn't happen.
Oh, this year?
Yeah, because they were saying he was trying to get out of his AEW contract like in December of last year, but it ended up not happening. I mean, there's a chance it could happen this year with Survivor Series being in Chicago. I don't want to say it won't happen, but I just don't care. Like I said, I just don't care.
True. I think honestly, we just need to like put it in the rearview mirror and just move forward and not really like think about it too much. As I mean, a lot of people are always going to speculate and throw up rumors and and all that stuff. Though, but at the same time, just put it in the rearview mirror and just move forward and not even thinking about it.
Look in his eyes, what do you see? An uptight personality. He's in a bad mood and angry. He's everything you don't wanna be. Oh, uptight personality.
That was good.
'Cause he's a Karen and a Kanye. All right, that's enough.
But moving forward, though,
I was also hearing that he got into it with William Regal when he came to AEW a couple years ago. He was basically he basically refused to shake William Regal's hand, and apparently got in his face and told him that he didn't trust him, mainly because he's a stooge for Triple H, in his words.
What?
Yeah, that's a story that came out a couple of days ago that's been running around rampant, that he had an incident with William Regal and basically like refused to shake his hand and did all that shit.
Really nothing surprises me if I'm hearing stories and stuff, so it doesn't surprise me. But anyway, so that being said, yeah, he's gone and move forward and carry on. The world goes on. The wrestling world goes on, and moving forward, we did. That took up a lot of what happened this past Saturday with CM Punk being fired. But during the same time, we did had another, eventful night.
We had an eventful night on Saturday with Payback,
Yes.
but also All Out on Sunday got a lot of great reviews. Despite the whole Punk thing going on, All Out was actually very well received, and actually a lot of people liked it even more than All In.
Hmm.
And Payback also. It also got a lot more better reviews than Payback did.
Okay.
And it had a great strap match from the highlights I saw between Bryan Danielson and Ricky Starks. Yo, these dudes beat the fuck out of each other, man. This shit was fucking rough. Shit was rough, son.
Saw
Shit
some
was
clips
rough.
of it.
I don't mind rough shit if you know what I'm saying, but this kind of rough shit I would not want to be a part of. No fucking way.
Damn.
Yeah, these two beat the hell out of each other. And also, Lana is officially a part of AEW as well. She made her debut during All Out.
Oh yeah. I did. Yes, I saw that. Yeah.
Yeah, good shit. And also what went down was MJF and Adam Cole retained their tag titles, the Ring of Honor tag titles. But after the match, MJF had an altercation with Samoa Joe. As Samoa Joe was making his entrance, he pushed MJF out of the way as he was walking to the ring. And as Samoa Joe was holding the belt up in the ring, MJF attacked him and they got into a brawl.
Yeah, I saw that, man. And one of my friends asked me, was that stage? Was that real? I was like, I think it was stage. Because they ended up having a MJF and Samoa Joe ended up cutting a promo.
Last night on Dynamite, yeah, it was a good segment. Good ass segment.
Very good segment. Very good. So it's very obvious, and it turns out to be that Samoa Joe is going to be the next one in line contending for the title.
Probably a Grand Slam in 2 weeks with Arthur Ashe.
Right.
Good shit. Yeah, I liked seeing that. It's a nice little feud. I also heard Samoa Joe was the whole peacemaker in the whole CM Punk altercation. He was like the one trying to, stop the fight. He was the one trying to, keep the peace among everybody.
That's good.
Shout out to Samoa Joe, stand-up guy.
Oh, yeah.
And also what happened was the unfortunate ending of Orange Cassidy's International Championship reign as he lost the title in the main event to Jon Moxley. In a bloody-ass match. He bled like a motherfucker.
As always.
But I have to say, people are talking about Roman's title reign and also Gunther's title reign, which we'll get into later. But shout out to Orange Cassidy for the title reign he had with that international title. He held that belt for almost a year and was having consistent bangers on TV on a regular basis. This dude was killing it, bro.
Nice.
He was killing it. And and I'm going to salute to him, put my glass up in the air for him because he had a great title run. It's sad it had to end. Jon Moxley was a worthy person for it to end to, but in any event, hats off to that dude. He really proved himself in his title reign. For how people have always thought he was a joke because of the way he wrestles, how he puts his hands in his pockets when he does moves and all that, and does like those play around kicks. This dude can throw the fuck down. This dude can fucking go, and he proved that, especially in this title reign.
I'll tell you what, we are gonna have to put our glasses up for somebody else when it comes to their title reign later on throughout the show, but.
Yeah, so All Out was a good show, but also what turned out to be a good show was WWE Payback, which took place on Saturday night in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Yes.
Wiz Khalifa country. And Kurt Angle too.
Right, thank you. Thank you.
Oh, his documentary came on after the show too. He had a documentary on Peacock that dropped.
Yeah, I know. I still need to watch it. I forgot to watch it.
It's good. It's mainly about, like, a healthy chunk of it is about, like, his Olympic career.
Okay.
Yeah, dude faced a lot of tragedy, bro. Fuck, man. Kurt Angle went through a lot of fucking hard shit.
Yeah, I knew all about that, about what he went through and all that. That was crazy. But
and you know what's crazy? His sister died the day before of the Iron Man match with Brock on SmackDown. His sister died the day before.
Yeah, I knew about that. Yeah.
Drug overdose.
Mm-hmm. Knew about that.
Okay, so we had Payback this past Saturday night. In the opening match, we had the steel cage match between Becky Lynch and Trish Stratus.
Yes, and damn, this was a good match. This is the first time that Trish Stratus is in a cage match, and something that she wanted to do, and I can't blame her. But boy, these two went at it. The spots in this match was just perfect. You never believe that these two would be able to pull it off, but they pulled it off, man. I loved it.
I know a lot of people have had their criticisms about this whole feud, feeling that it was underwhelming, but this match definitely delivered. This
Yes.
match definitely was a great climax of that feud, and a lot of the great spots included Trish doing the bulldog from the top rope. Holy shit! You could tell that even she was suffering after that. I could tell like by her reaction that shit had to hurt like hell.
Yeah. Oh my god. Whew.
Well, I liked also how she did the widow's peak in the middle of the match too, like a shout out to
Yeah,
Victoria.
that homage to Victoria. I love that. Even Victoria was mentioning that, man. I love that. That was dope. It was a long time since I've seen that move, but that was dope.
And also Becky did the twist of fate, and those moves were both a homage to Victoria and Lita because the first ever women's cage match was between Lita and Victoria back in '03
Oh, okay, man. I forgot
on the
about
Raw
that.
Roulette. Yeah, the second Raw Roulette they did it on that night.
Crazy.
And then there was one point where like Trish was trying to escape the cage, and then she ended up hanging upside down from it. Oh motherfucker, motherfucker, did that look scary?
Mm-mm. Cage match, man.
And then
Yeah.
Becky did a superplex to Trish from the top of the freaking cage, son. The top of the freaking cage.
Wow.
I was saying a lot more than that when I saw that shit.
I bet. Oh man. But this match definitely. I think even Michael Cole said the same thing. This match could turn out to be match of the year.
Yes, and as Becky was trying to escape, Zoe Stark interfered and was about to cost her the match, but Becky was eventually able to fight her off and then hit a man slam to Trish from the top rope, getting the pin and putting an end to their feud. But bravo, bro.
To
That's
both
all
of
I
them.
gotta say. Bravo. Bravo to both women.
Both of them. Yes. Well deserved. In a cage match. That's crazy. Like I said, I mean, you could say that the rivalry was a little bit overwhelming and all that stuff though, but wow. I mean, they really ended it on a high note.
And as Zoe Stark was trying to help up Trish when the match was over, Trish was like yelling at Zoe Stark and bitching at her to the point where she slapped her in the face. And then Zoe Stark responded to this by hitting Trish with her finisher, laying her ass out, and then leaving the cage.
Dang. Crazy.
But some footage that was caught online afterwards was Trish getting a standing ovation after the match was over, everyone clapping for her, everyone cheering for her,
Saying thank you,
and
Trish.
chanting "Thank you,
Yep.
Trish."
And she deserves it, man. Like, I never thought I would see her, come back and well, you know what? Like, we all expect some, WWE legends to come back primarily just for that one match and all that stuff, though. But whenever they'll come back for one match, but we won't expect them to have for a small little tenure, come back for like a few months. That's what Trish did. I was not expecting that. And the matches that she was in, let's not forget, she was in a Money in the Bank ladder match, and she was a part of WrestleMania, and she was in a feud. I was not expecting that, man. And I just applaud her for the work that she put in. She didn't have to do it. She doesn't have to prove anything to me or anybody else because she's done a lot over in her career. But what she did, that was very genuine and that was very giving to the fans.
And to Becky and to Zoe Stark. This match especially put a great stamp on this whole last run that she's had. I don't know if this is her last match ever, but if it is, what a fucking way to go
Mm-hmm.
out. I have to say, arguably, this might be Trish's best match.
Her best one ever. And we could say with that tied or compared to her match on Raw with Lita in 2004.
I think even better than that one. Honestly, even better than
Okay.
that one. And I think Becky, I don't want to say it's Becky's best match, but it's easily top five.
Oh, easily, easily, no doubt.
So I guess the way they ended it, especially with Zoe Stark laying out Trish afterwards, that Trish is probably going to be off TV for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, take some time off again,
Yeah,
mom duties.
yeah, definitely. Talk about aging like fine wine, bro. Trish, I even showed my best friend a picture of Trish like from back in 2000 to now, and he even said that she looks better now than she did then.
Really?
I don't disagree, honestly. I mean, she looked amazing back then, but now she still fucking looks great.
No, she still looks great though. But I'm just saying, like,
Holy
to say
shit,
like she looks
man.
better than I don't know. I think I think I kind of know she's like a little bit thicker back then versus now though. But still, but yeah, I mean, she still looks good as
I
hell.
think in a way, she's probably healthier now because of like doing the yoga stuff. She probably has like a better diet now than she did back
True,
then too.
very true. And also,
Yeah,
you still have to maintain your looks and your physicality because she has kids now. So
you know who also looks great now too, even though they're a little older.
Mickey James.
Her too, but I was gonna like refer more to a celebrity, Salma Hayek.
Oh my god! Oh my god! She's in her 50s. Yeah, that. Yeah, thank
She's
you.
like 57. Like I saw it was her birthday last week. They were like posting a bunch of
Hmm.
statuses of her online. I'm like, fuck me,
Hmm.
yo. She's the main reason why I like. She's probably one of the main reasons why I like Desperado.
It's a good movie, by the way.
To be honest, I would take Salma Hayek over J Lo,
Yeah. Oh yeah. Same here. I agree.
and maybe even Shakira, which is saying a lot.
Yeah.
Shit. Well, Jimmy Butler might not want to hear me talk about that, but that's another
I know,
story.
right? Oh man.
All right, but anyway, yes, great opening match. But we move on to the next match. We had LA Knight against The Miz
But
with
before
John
that, John
Cena.
Cena he's the host of Payback, so he makes an appearance. Miz comes out, they're pretty much, cutting a segment with each other and, Miz jabbing, and talking about LA Knight, this and that. And then LA Knight comes to the ring and it turns out that John Cena has also put himself as a special guest referee in the match. Wasn't expecting this, but I liked it. And the match was actually pretty good. It was pretty good. I was watching it, and I already knew LA Knight was going to win though. But good match. LA Knight needed to win this match, and he did win the match. And let's not. And the thing is, yeah, LA Knight got the win though. But what happened after was very kind of like, oh, like it was a good appreciation moment. At the end of the match, John Cena raises LA Knight's hand in victory as a sign of respect and appreciation.
Yeah, that was dope to see. I liked it. LA Knight has a lot of momentum right now, and supposedly I'm hearing now he's being positioned as the number one babyface on SmackDown.
Yeah, and I also heard that he got a extension, I believe. Maybe if I'm reading that wrong.
Yes, he did.
Yeah, was it like for 5 years?
Something like that, but whatever, regardless, I'm just happy the dude is like, having the momentum he's having right now, getting the crowd reactions that he's getting, and that he's, getting his just due.
Yes, he deserves it. I love the pops and the reaction he gets from the crowd. I absolutely love it, and I love this feud with Miz. I love it. He needs it. Having a feud like that with a guy like Miz. Miz is a very underrated performer that deserves to get more credit when it's due, especially when it comes to promo. Oh my god, like he's good in the ring though, but his promos, oh my god, Miz does a damn good job at it in his promo works, dude. Very good job. And he makes it more believable. He makes the work with a guy like Miz, who's a veteran, and he need LA Knight needs that. And I just love this feud. I hope it goes a little bit longer. I hope it goes longer, but I love it.
Honestly, I was good with the feud ending at Payback because LA Knight like won,
Oh, you think it ended?
decisively.
Oh, you
I don't
think
think
it's
it.
done?
I don't think it is done, but I'm saying I would be good if it was done because with LA Knight winning so decisively, I don't really feel like the need for it to go on. But it probably still will.
That's
But it
true.
is what it is.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. Good point.
And in our
But
next match, we had Rey Mysterio defending his United States title against Austin Theory, who's very fond of popcorn.
right. Who's eating the popcorn?
I remember that video you showed me a few weeks ago of like him eating, in the stands eating popcorn, watching the number one contenders match, and there's like three buckets of popcorn like waiting right behind him. I'm like, bro, how much fucking popcorn is this
He's
dude
probably
gonna
expecting
eat?
people to join him, but apparently they skipped out at the last minute.
That's too many empty calories, son.
Dude, that's a lot of calories you got to burn. But anyway, it was, it was, okay match. It was decent for what it was, but we all knew that Rey Mysterio was going to retain his title, in which he did.
Yes, he did with a roll up. Rey Mysterio did retain. No surprise there. We'll see how this goes going forward. And in our next match, and honestly one of the other best matches of the night, we had a Pittsburgh Steel City street fight for the tag team titles with Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn defending against Finn Balor and Damian Priest.
This match was intense, and I think this match was
This fucking wild, son.
Yeah. This match was, I say, the surprise shocker of the night, which I'll get later into. Yeah, this match was so intense, man. And then to the point where it got into the crowd, which I knew what was going to happen. My favorite moment of that night is how Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens are over the barricade where the fans are at. And then they just come out, and then all of a sudden they're wearing Pittsburgh Penguins jerseys, which I love that.
Oh, yeah, that was dope.
They came out with their hockey sticks and they start hitting them with it. I love that. The crowd was hyped. You're in the home arena of the Pittsburgh Penguins. The crowd was going to get hype over that. So that was my favorite moment of that night, of the match. I'm sorry. And then also, let's not forget, dude, Kevin Owens doing the Swanton bomb from the like somewhere where the crowd was at.
From the balcony.
Yeah, in the balcony. Yeah, thank you. On the balcony onto
Yeah, freaking that spot when Kevin Owens does that swanton to Dominic off the balcony through the table. Holy shit. You could tell that he was suffering after that spot. Like, he got that spot as bad as Dominic did. Yeah, fuck me. That dude looked like he was in pain.
Hey, let's give credit for Dominic for putting himself in that position, dude. Jeez.
Yeah, I'll say this much. For as good of a heel as he is, he's a very good punching bag also.
To take a lot of punishment, I mean, hey, that's good, man.
You gotta hand it to him. You gotta hand it to him.
Exactly. You put yourself out there in enemy lines like that. Respect.
So, bro, will you now say that he's Vatos Locos forever?
With him being the North American title, champion, a little bit, yeah. But I need him he needs to defend the title.
Wow.
What?
Wow, we had a breakthrough moment here, ladies and gentlemen, on Clash of Champions.
I said maybe. He needs to defend the title, damn it.
Dominic Mysterio is Vatos Locos forever. John Randall has just now admitted it. How times have changed in the last 6 months.
You still need to watch the movie. How was taking you so long? Hell, I'll mail it to you.
Anytime I see a movie that's 3 hours long, I'm like, fuck, I gotta really commit my time to this.
Oh, come on. What was the last movie that what was the last long movie you ever seen?
Like that I watched recently or just in general?
Both.
The last long movie I remember watching that in recent times was Casino, like last year.
Mm-hmm. I don't think Blood and Blood Out was 3 hours. It hits like the 2 hour mark.
No, I saw it on YouTube. It said at least like 2.5 hours at least.
Okay.
All right, but anyway, the match goes on. And Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn looks like he's about to win the match with a haluva kick, but JD McDonough ends up interfering and interrupting the count. And then Kevin Owens lays him out through the announce table. But as Kevin Owens does this, freaking Rhea Ripley spears Kevin Owens through the freaking railing.
Crazy.
And bro, that shit looked hard.
Yeah.
Like you could tell Rhea Ripley got that bad too.
Yeah, she did. It looked like, Kevin Owens she took all the punishment though. But man, Rhea Ripley, again, just like Dominic, putting yourself out there, throwing yourself out there as a sacrificial lamb to make sure that your other companions succeed, that shows a lot, man. And uh, crazy.
And the match continues to go on, and Sami Zayn once again hits the haluva kick on the Finn Balor, and he looks like he's about to get the pin, but Dominic Mysterio hits Sami Zayn with the Money in the Bank briefcase, allowing Finn Balor to get the pin, and Finn Balor and Damian Priest are the new tag team champions.
Ain't that something? I was not expecting that. The surprise,
Neither was I, man.
the shocker of the night. Was not expecting that, man. Crazy. Great match, but just a crazy ending and a crazy, shocking moment.
Yeah, now Judgment Day has all the gold and all the fucking shine, pretty much.
It was definitely was payback for Judgment Day because they were on the cover. They didn't just put them on the cover for any other reason now. So I think it's crazy. I think really Rhea Ripley really lit a fire under Damian Priest and Finn Balor because he goes back to last Monday on Raw after she kind of like made a threat saying like changes are going to be made if if you guys don't win. So which that leads to our next match because Rhea Ripley had to return to the ring again and defend her Women's World Championship against Raquel Rodriguez. Look, I love Raquel Rodriguez so much though, but it was a good match, but I knew it was going to happen. Damn, Dominic even interfered. It looked like Raquel had Rhea Ripley on the ropes and looked like she was going to win the match though, but Dominic interfered and that resulted in Rhea Ripley doing a Riptide and retaining her title. And she is still the Women's World Champion.
Yes, but before she did retain, Raquel did get Dominic laid out with a power slam, lucky kid, but Rhea Ripley took advantage of this, hit her with the Riptide, retained the title. Yeah, I did like Rhea Ripley's outfit being a tribute to China, the SummerSlam '99 outfit. I liked it a lot. Yo,
yeah,
I was even saying
caught notice of that.
Yeah, I caught notice of it too. Like even before I saw the memes online, I'm like, oh fuck, that reminds me of like some shit China would wear.
Yeah, I saw that. I was like, didn't China wear that? I liked it.
I have a thing for these like tatted up chicks who wear all black. I don't know what it is, but I have a thing for them.
That's funny.
Rough my ass up anytime they want.
Oh my god.
Also on the show we had the Grayson Waller effect with special guest Cody Rhodes.
Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot about that.
And Cody Rhodes on the show announced the newest member of the Raw roster that he made a deal to make happen, and that new member of the Raw roster is Jey Uso.
Yes, who we thought that at first he was leaving WWE. I knew he wasn't leaving though, but he shows up and then he confirms that he's now a member of Monday Night Raw.
I guess with this going down now, it basically does mean that they probably are going to save the Jey and Jimmy match for WrestleMania. So this is a way to keep them separated for now.
That's good.
But I like it though. Jay's gonna get a chance to like prove himself as a solo act without the whole bloodline stuff being attached to him. So it's a good look. I like it.
Love it. And I'll get on to more about Jay where I would like to see him do, prior to WrestleMania, but we'll get into that later. But yeah, Jey Uso is now on Raw, and that now it leads us to our final and main event of the night, and that was Seth Rollins defending his title against Shinsuke Nakamura for the World Heavyweight Championship. Ooh, good match, and again, Shinsuke Nakamura was going after that back.
Made sense considering the storyline.
Just very good wrestling chemistry one-on-one to go after an injured back since you're going to make the storyline about his back. And I love the spots of this match. It was a good match, back and forth. And at one point, dude, I really thought Nakamura had won. I thought it was over at one moment, at one point. With all the counters. A lot of good counters in this match.
I like the counter when Nakamura was about to do a move and then Rollins just basically reversed it into the curb stomp and then he got the pin and retained. So that I like the finish of the
Dude,
match a lot. I really like the finish.
I, w- I wasn't expecting it, but it was crazy. But I was like, okay, I kind of should, Rollins retains though. But do you think that was like the right decision for him to retain the title, or do you think that do you think the rivalry is going to still extend a little bit, maybe into Fastlane?
Of course it is that because basically after the match
Yeah.
was over, after the show went off the air, you could see footage on Raw of Shinsuke attacking Seth Rollins after the match is
Mm-hmm.
over, laying him out. And then Monday on Raw, Rollins wanted to get at Nakamura, but Nakamura constantly refused. Not sure why, but he constantly refused. And after
Mind
Nakamura
games.
And after Nakamura got disqualified in his match against Ricochet and kept attacking him, Rollins came out and brawled with him to the point where it had to be separated. So basically, from what I saw on Raw, it looks like this feud is going to continue. But the match at Payback was good. I can't say it was my favorite match of the night because of the two best matches that we did see that night, but it was still good nonetheless.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't expecting any other
Mm-hmm.
outcome unless Rollins was actually legit hurt to the point where he would need to take time off. So it turned out the way I thought it would. Rollins retained. Cool ending to the show. But overall, I'll say good show. Not a show we don't really amped up and too excited for going into it, but it did deliver, specifically the cage match and the tag title match. Two easy match of the year candidates.
True. Very true. I agree. And moving on to the next night. Now it was very
Well,
unfortunate. There was one match.
not the next night, Monday, 2 nights later. You got to remember they're on Saturday nights now.
Oh shit! Oh my god! I can't ever forget that. Damn it! My old school self. Never mind. 2 days later. I'm sorry. My bad.
And this past Monday on Raw, we did have a match that was left off the Payback card, but looking back at it now, it was for good reason. We had the match for the Intercontinental title that actually main evented the show. It was Gunther defending his title that he's held for over a year against Chad Gable. And if Gunther would win this match, he would officially go on to break the record of Honky Tonk Man's for the longest Intercontinental title reign in history.
And which he did, and it wasn't a surprise. Look, he had his number. He had his number. You had somebody who was challenging him, and it really got to the point where Gunther was really fed up about it over the past couple of weeks. That's why he wanted the match, and we got the match that we wanted, and it was a good match. But yes, Gunther retained, which I knew what was going to happen. It was a good match, but hey, let's put our glasses up for Gunther because he is now our longest reigning Intercontinental Champion in WWE history.
As of today, he broke the record.
Man, let's tip our hats off to Chad Gable. He got a standing ovation after the match, well deserved.
And it was sad to see his little girl crying in the front row after the match was over. That shit bummed me
Yeah,
out.
I know, man. Yeah. I mean, it was a heartfelt moment when it was like a couple weeks ago when he shared that moment with her. That was a very heartfelt. I like that, but yeah, it was a very bitter moment to see that. But just for him to get that standing ovation at the end of the match, that was great. But yes, Gunther becoming the longest reigning Intercontinental Champion in WWE history. That's a standard.
In all the years, the Intercontinental title hasn't really felt as special. In the last couple decades, who would have ever thought in this day and age this belt would be getting that kind of recognition, that kind of respect, that kind of attention, and who would have ever
Mm-hmm.
thought that after Honky Tonk Man set that record so many years ago, that now in 2023 it would be broken. And
Yeah,
there's no better person I could think of to do it than Gunther.
he's the
What
perfect.
a
He's the perfect.
fucking run.
He's the perfect person to do it. And we never thought about like, man, would anybody else be able to break Honky Tonk Man record? You know what I mean? But it happened.
You know what's funny? I was actually watching this list online ranking the 10 best Intercontinental title reigns, and they actually ranked Gunther's title reign as number one.
Really?
Yeah.
Hmm. Who was number? I know Honky Tonk was number 2, correct?
No, Honky Tonk Man was like number 5 because
Oh,
The thing with Honky Tonk Man's title reign, like even though it lasted long, like he didn't really
he
have
didn't
like a lot
really.
of classic matches, and most of his
True.
matches, like he lost by disqualification or lost by count out. Like yeah, he
Mm,
held it for a long time, but like as far as like memorable matches and title defenses, there's not really that many to speak of.
that is true. Who was number two?
I think number 2 was Macho Man. I think it might have been Macho Man.
86, 87.
Yeah, that was a good ass reign, bro. And Macho
It
Man was a
was.
fighting champion. Macho Man was a respectable fighting champion.
I believe it.
He was the champion when I was born. Yeah, he was the Intercontinental Champion when I was born.
Wow.
Shit. Fuck me.
So wait a minute.
And he won it in your precious Boston Garden, too.
Whatever. Damn, who was Intercontinental Champion in '91?
Brett, bro. How can you forget?
Oh yeah, '91. I'm thinking about no. I got confused about when he won the world title. It was '92. Yeah, it was Bret Hart when he. Bret Hart was the champion when I was born.
Yeah, they had Brett's title reign on there. They had Razor's title reign, one of Sean's title reigns, Mr. Perfect, obviously, Randy Orton. I just didn't like what they were doing with the IC title, like more in the Attitude Era. I feel like after the Rock's title reign, like after the Rock lost it to Triple H, like it really started to kind of like become less special.
True.
Because that title changed hands just like alone in '99, like at least like 9 or 10 times.
True, but I liked when you had guys like Chris Jericho and Chris Benoit win it. That's I appreciated that.
They were good, but they didn't last long enough because they were like the
Yeah.
ones who were like going back and forth with it for like maybe a month or two. But then
Mm,
Rikishi had it, and Val Venus had it, and then
yeah.
Billy Gunn had it.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, it was like all over the place. Like it was like switch places like pretty much every month.
Like hot potato.
Yeah, hot potato central.
Yeah.
I like hot potatoes, but that's not the hot potato I like to fuck with.
but yeah, but anyway, I think Gunther, he made, like you said, he made the title more recognizable and just made it more prestige now. You know what I mean? It's like if you're a wrestler now you got to be like, damn, I got to, you know, not just win the title, but if I beat him to win that, that's just, you know what I mean?
Yeah, like he's the man to beat. Like he's like a
He makes it look good.
credible champion.
He makes
Credible
the belt
champion.
look good. That's why, because of how he carries himself.
Granted, it's still an ugly belt, but he does make the belt feel important. I'll say that.
Yes. Now, speaking of that, now with Jay Uso on Monday Night Raw, I was reading a post on Twitter about who should Jay Uso like feud with since he's on Raw. Some people are saying Drew McIntyre. Now, let's not forget what happened. The Bloodline ambushed him. Was like late last year. Okay, that's a good point. Now, if you remember when Jey Uso appeared on Raw this past Monday on Raw when he left because he had a very like it was a very good segment promo that he had with Sami Zayn. I like that they hugged it out. They put all their personal vendettas aside. But when they left the ring, Drew McIntyre shows up, and Drew had that look on his face like, "Yeah, I haven't forgotten what you did to me." So that is a good point to bring up that hey, maybe Drew McIntyre and Jey Uso could go at it in a feud. I don't mind that, but I also was the back of my mind I was saying like, man, it would be really great. What if Jey Uso got into a feud with Gunther and go after the IC title? I would love to see that. If you want to prove yourself as a singles competitor, which I mean, don't get me wrong, like he's been in a world title picture before with Roman Reigns, but I think to really put yourself out there, go after the IC title, put yourself in a feud with Gunther.
I could see it happening. I could even see Jay being the one to dethrone him because the one thing I've been hearing a lot lately is that Gunther's probably going to be the person to take the title from Rollins probably at WrestleMania.
Ooh, really?
So the sooner Gunther drops the IC title, the sooner he can go after the world title.
Mm.
And he's even being somebody people are predicting to win the Royal Rumble. Hey, he was the runner-up this year. He lasted fucking over an
Yeah.
hour.
Hell yeah. Yup. Yup.
He's had a monster year, bro. Even with like the IC title reign aside, he's had a monster ass year.
I agree. There's no denying that.
Yeah, so now Honky Tonk Man no longer holds the title of being the longest reigning IC champion. So that was his biggest claim to fame, and now he doesn't have it no more.
I know. You know, it's been so funny though.
What?
Honky Tonk Man interfered in that match and hit Gunther with the guitar.
Yeah, that would have been crazy. I would have liked to have seen Chad Gable win the IC title. I would have liked to have seen him win the title. But the thing was, is that like with
No,
Gunther
I
being
wanted to see that moment, bro. I wanted to see that moment. Like, okay, that's like okay, like for example with basketball, you know what I mean? Everybody admires the 72-10 Chicago Bulls. We admire that. But when the Warriors broke that, when they became 73-9, that was like so newer and like we needed something more modern and fresh. Not disrespect the stuff that came before us, but like to have something new to come in to break that, that was a history making moment. So that's kind of similar to what we saw with Gunther because like look, Honky Tonk Man, that was like, bro, like, oh my god, you were like what 2 years old?
when Honky Tonk Man had the record, yes, I was 2 years old. 1988, I was 2 years old.
Yeah, you know what I mean? That was right. That was like a long time ago. You know what I mean? And like you said, we never thought that something like this was ever going to happen again. You know what I mean? You know, you go to the Warriors. We never said to ourselves, like, man, what if there was a team that would break the 72-10 Bulls regular season record? We never thought that would be possible, but it happened. And it was a very history making moment. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's crazy. Who would have ever thought? Because like Intercontinental titles like been like a title that's been very up and down over the past 2 decades. But I'm just so happy that even in this era in 2023, that Gunther was somebody who like really brought a lot of prestige back to that title. That hasn't had that prestige in such a fucking long time.
And I think it's good for the business. It's good for the belt itself that we had a historical record to happen to that belt because it hasn't been done in oh my god, it's been like 35 years now. Jesus, but yeah, to have something new, fresh, modern, to have a moment like that, we need that.
Yeah, great moment. I would have liked to have seen Chad Gable win the title. Maybe he still might at some point, but it was the right way to go, and I'm happy that Gunther is officially the one to break that record. Hats off to him.
Same here. Same here.
Great success story with him on the main roster.
Yes, raise our glasses up to the ring general now. I love that nickname.
The Ring General.
Yes. Somebody said, I love how when he
Giovanni
cuts
Vinci.
promos. Stop.
Ludwig Kaiser.
You sound like Drago's wife from Rocky Four. You fool. You say I love how when he does his promos, Kurt, I love how he's standing on the announce table. Just that power. Like, I'm not going to do it in the ring. I'm going to cut my promos on the top of the announce table and announce myself. You know what I mean? And some
Yes,
idiot on
sir.
social media said that one of these days the announce table is going to break. I was like, fool. Oh my god, I can't.
I just hope that Gunther, in celebration of his breaking of Honky Tonk Man record, like does a TikTok dance. I hope he like puts out a dance on TikTok. That should be mad dope with
We
Giovanni
already
Vinci.
danced at his wedding.
But I'm saying like a TikTok dance like in his ring gear. Like it should be mad dope. Call the Ring General. Call the Ring General.
Oh my god.
All right, but anyway, did you catch any of the interview with Joe Rogan and Hulk Hogan that's been floating around on
What
YouTube
the
lately?
hell no? What is this?
Yeah, Hogan was on the Joe Rogan podcast recently.
Oh. No, did not hear about this.
Yeah, he's been telling a lot of little stories and a lot of little tall tales that he's very known for telling over the years.
Oh, okay.
Talking
What
about
happened?
how he was Brock's first opponent after Brock came back from UFC.
What else?
You get that, right? Because you know that he didn't work with Brock after he came back from UFC. He worked with Brock like when Brock like first debuted like back in '02.
Right. Yeah. 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 And originally, they were supposed to do Brock Lesnar versus Hulk Hogan at Survivor Series that year.
Yeah, but he didn't want to lose to him twice.
Right. So they put Big Show in.
I mean, the Big Show thing wasn't that much better, but I mean, whatever, it is what it is.
Right.
And then he was talking about how like the movies he did when he was in WWE, like No Holds Barred and Suburban Commando and Mr. Nanny. Those were like the first movies from New Line Cinema, the very first movies from them. I'm like, bro, the Freddy Krueger movies were the
What?
first movies from New Line Cinema. The Freddy Krueger movies
Right.
were what put New Line Cinema on the map.
Why is he hyping up those movies? Those movies are not even good.
They weren't good, but he was just saying they were the first movies from New Line Cinema. Like they were like the movies that like got New Line Cinema
I
bumped
mean,
it
he needs
up.
to do his he needs to do his research a little bit more because let's be real. When I think of New Line Cinema, these are the movies that come to my mind: Rush Hour, Friday, Lord of the Rings, The Mask, Mortal Kombat. Those are like the movies that hit my mind.
The first one that hits my mind, honestly, is Nightmare on Elm Street. Those are the first like real
Oh,
movies that, like, if you
yeah,
watch,
because that was the first.
yeah, like even if you watch the original Nightmare on Elm Street, like the New Line Cinema opening, it looks completely different from like the one we know of.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah, it
yeah.
looks
Oh
so.
yeah,
It's like
yeah.
all in red and black. You're like, what the fuck? This is some old
Mhm.
school ass shit.
Right.
Yeah, but like those are the movies I think of. Yeah, like Nightmare on Elm Street. Also, the Ninja Turtles movies from the early '90s. Think of those two. Menace to Society.
Mm.
Menace to Society is another one.
Oh really?
Yeah, Dumb and Dumber.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Rush Hour. Rush Hour goes without saying.
Yep.
Yeah, so like, yeah, he just tells these kind of lies all the time. Like, even listening to Jason Solomon, so he was saying how like he couldn't even listen to the whole 3 hour interview because he just so much bullshit tales from Hogan. So many of them where like he exaggerates shit. Like you don't know whether or not like maybe it's because of his memory or because of the fact that he's just like lying for the sake of lying. But like, yo, it's like, bro, like everybody can see through this. Everybody knows that this isn't true.
Yeah. And especially with you, you caught that on with the New Line Cinema thing. I mean, everybody would catch that on, especially if you're like an avid movie fan. You know what I mean? But
And even if that were true, I wouldn't be proud of those movies being the first ones from New Line
no,
Cinema.
I wouldn't. That's what I'm saying. Like, why are you like? Look, I get what you were saying about like. In a way, to me, when I hear that, Kurt, it's kind of like he was kind of like low key hyping up those movies because it's like, dude, why would you hype up a movie like that?
Suburban Commando.
Come on, that was just like really.
I'll never forget that scene in No Holds Barred when he's at the restaurant and he tells the waitress that like the black waitress lady that she's a whole lot of woman. Like just the way he says that, I'm like, what the fuck? What the fuck is this shit?
Very cringe.
He's like, yeah, Foxy, you sure are a whole lot of woman.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Wow.
I
Very
guess that's what he meant when he said he grew up around black people. Was that now? Honestly, as somebody who studied journalism, Hogan is somebody I would want to interview.
really? Oh my god! I just want to see how this interview would turn out. Oh my
Honestly,
goodness.
I wouldn't try to grill him. Like I wouldn't try to like grill him or try like
Okay,
to like
sure.
ask
Okay,
him some.
sure. Okay.
Nah. To be real, to be real, to, to be real, what I would do, I would mainly dig into that, like, early '90s period, like, like the end of his WWE run, like,
Hmm.
when he was on the Sergeant Slaughter feud, and
Mhm.
how, like, the fans were starting to, like, not be as into him anymore, and the
Hmm.
business was starting to change with the whole steroid scandal and the whole bad like heat WWE was getting at the time. I would like really want to interview him about that period, like if he like felt himself, if that like his whole stick wasn't like really clicking anymore, or like if the whole vibe of the company wasn't the same anymore. Like I would really want to dig into that time frame. Like if he could remember it or even be honest about it, I would want to dig into that.
I see. I see. Those are good. Those are very good questions.
Or like, for example, like if he felt like maybe all him and Ultimate Warrior could have done a rematch at the following year's WrestleMania. Because bro, like I heard that they didn't do the rematch because of how disappointing the pay-per-view buy rate was for that Mania, but the buy rate from WrestleMania 6 was way better than the buy rate for WrestleMania 7.
Yeah,
Hell,
because the main event.
SummerSlam 91 did a better buy rate than WrestleMania 7 did.
Wow.
That was the only year. That was the only year in history where SummerSlam the same year did a better buy rate than WrestleMania that year.
Wow.
It was 91.
Mm. You know what? Let the you know what's crazy about that? Let WrestleMania 7 the buy rate be like a blessing in disguise in a way because we forget. That's a good thing I watched that WrestleMania history of the WrestleMania video a long time ago because let's just say if they did sell out the Coliseum, Kurt, let's not forget Mean Gene Okerlund said that it rained that day.
It did. It did.
Yeah, imagine, imagine.
Yeah, but just looking back at it now, it's like, bro, you guys could have very easily done a rematch. You guys could have very easily done a Hogan and Warrior rematch.
Yeah.
Or even Rick Rude. Maybe Rick Rude wouldn't have left if they gave him the title. Maybe they could have done that shit also.
But didn't
Rick Rude would have
Hogan?
been a new
But wait a
opponent.
minute. But wait, didn't Hogan didn't want to work with Rick Rude for whatever reason?
That's true. I always did hear Hogan was afraid of him. I did hear like
Yeah, I
that.
mean, I've
There's that.
always, yeah, man. Like, I'm okay with that. I love that. That's just that's a very perfect, pitch perfect idea to put those two in a ring with each other. But yeah, Hogan didn't want to work with him, man, and that was like that's a bummer. You can't. There's a lot of. I think that's one of the things I don't like about Hogan. Like I don't like dislike him as a performer. I just that's just one of the things when it comes to wrestling politics I don't like about Hogan because he just doesn't a lot of his ego gets in the way of business. When you're trying to do good for business for the right reasons, but yet his ego will get in the way. So it's very similar to him and Shawn Michaels, leading up to SummerSlam. That's why Shawn was, you know, selling, overly selling that match. And a lot of people look back at it and we laugh at it because, it was just Shawn. That was Shawn's way of
Throwing
like,
it back in his face.
right. That's all it was. Since okay, if you're gonna act like that and be unprofessional, where I'm trying to be giving back to the company and let's do a good feud, let's do a good match, but yet you're being unprofessional like that. Okay, well, I'm gonna throw it back at you.
Hey, look, it doesn't make it okay, but something Jim Ross said about Hogan stuck out to me that I kind of like started to maybe look at Hogan a little bit differently or judge him a little bit less. Is that
Mm.
Hogan basically was a product of his era, like the era that Hogan came up in. That's the way dudes were. That's the way dudes operated. It's not okay by today's standards. It's not acceptable by today's standards. But Hogan just came up in that era, and that's like the only,
Would you
the only
say
way he knew how to
everybody, or you
operate.
just? I mean, would you say everybody, or would you say like if you're like on the top of your game, like the top guy, act like that?
Yeah, because honestly, Hogan's not the only top guy or like the top guy in wrestling that you ever heard of, like, playing politics or screwing people over and not wanting to lose matches. He's not the only one. Hell, Roddy Piper was also that way too.
Really?
Roddy Piper's first ever pinfall in WWE was the match at WrestleMania 8 with Bret Hart. That was his first ever pinfall ever in WWE. First ever.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Hogan never once pinned him in that 85 feud they had. Hogan never once beat him by pinfall or submission. Never
Wow,
once.
wow,
Hogan's even said himself like he would have been very fine with losing the title to Piper back then and then like winning it back from him, but Piper was never willing to lose to him. So that's why he was never willing to lose to Piper.
wow.
So that's why in that scenario I can understand that. Like that's why I can like not really hold it against Hogan too much because he's not the only one who operated that way. Hell, look at a lot of those matches back at those early WrestleManias. A lot of those early WrestleMania matches ended by like, double disqualification, double count out. The reason why was because a lot of those guys like, didn't want to be made to look weak or made to look like they're not as strong as the other person. So that's why they would do those kind of finishes to, make them both happy.
Wow. Okay.
So that's why I'm saying, like, it's not okay. I don't, it's okay to not be a fan of it. I get it, but Hogan was just a product of that era. Like, that's just the way he came up.
It's pretty much how the business was back then.
Yeah, it was like it literally was like he's not the only wrestler to ever play politics. Granted, like it got old and got annoying after a while. Like especially like in the WCW days, it's like, bro, why are you still doing this shit? But
Right.
at the end of the day, it's like it's how he came up.
That's a good point.
Yeah, but even with Hogan, even with people with Hogan and also CM Punk, like I feel like they have like a lot of defenders and a lot of people who like kind of like can claim they can do no wrong, and like always defend them at every turn. But my stance on it is this: is that you can still be fans of them, you can still be supporters of them, and actually acknowledge the fact that they bring a lot of value and a lot of interest. But you can also acknowledge the fact that they do have things about them that are a turn off. There are things about them that are like not a good look and not a good vibe and that are wrong that they do and that they deserve to be called out for it.
Wow.
Yeah, because there's like a lot of hardcore CM Punk defenders who like literally think he did nothing wrong. Like in all
Oh,
these different scenarios, they literally think like he did nothing wrong, that he's 100% in the right.
mm,
Kind of like similar to the people who defend Donald Trump so much, who like no matter what comes out about him or like no matter what story comes out about him or what he says, they'll like still defend him to the death. Like they will still ride with him until the day they die.
wow.
Sick ass shit.
Mm.
And I just say, like, bro, you could still be a fan of the person. That's your prerogative. But you can still acknowledge when they fuck up and you can still acknowledge when they do something wrong.
Thank you.
There's a lot of people I'm fans of and a lot of people I'm supporters of. And I'll also acknowledge that, they were wrong for how they behaved. Like, for instance, Randy Savage. Like, Randy Savage, I give him a lot of credit for, like how being a stand-up guy and the children's charity stuff he did and all that. But I also acknowledge the fact that, like, from the stories I heard that, the way he was with Miss Elizabeth and like, how overprotective he was and, like over, zealous he was, that shit wasn't cool. That shit was not okay.
No.
I'm still a fan of his. I still like him, but I still acknowledge that he probably didn't do everything right in his life, and that's all of us. All of us do something wrong in our lives in one way or another. None of us are perfect.
Nope. Nobody is. But no, I mean, there's a lot of things we all like that I support though. But I will call you out if there's something that I see that I don't like. That's just how it is.
Yeah, some of us are worse than others, granted, but you can still be a supporter of somebody and still acknowledge the times when you're not a fan of their actions.
Mm.
Even somebody like Edge, like that we all love and we all respect. I'm still a fan of Edge. And he seems like a cool dude, but that shit with Lita and Matt Hardy, that shit was not cool. That shit was wrong.
No, it wasn't. Oh, and I'm a huge Shawn Michaels fan. I love Shawn Michaels though, but just like I don't defend of how even though how great he was in the ring in the '90s, one of the probably by far like the top like the best wrestler ever, just in ring work and mic work. Just I don't defend how the way he carried himself outside of the ring.
Like I said, nobody's perfect. Some people
No,
get it
no.
wrong sometimes. And depending on how many times they get it wrong and the things they specifically they do get wrong, it's all in your perspective.
Hmm.
And also, rest in peace to General Adnan, who passed away at 84 years old yesterday. He was a part of the whole Sergeant Slaughter storyline, the anti-Iraq, I'm sorry, the pro-Iraq, anti-America storyline in the early 90s. He was Sergeant Slaughter's right-hand man during that
Yep.
period. And he also went to high school with Saddam Hussein. He
Good.
actually legit
Crazy.
went to high school with Saddam
I
Hussein.
know. Crazy. I read about that the other day. I was like, I didn't know he went to high school with him. Wow.
Yeah, rest in peace to him. I mean, that was basically like as far as wrestling wise, that was the highlight of his career. But he was in some prime spots with like Ultimate Warrior and Hulk Hogan and Sergeant Slaughter at that. So that's good company to be in.
Yeah.
Very good company to
Very
be
good.
in.
Very good. Um,
You got a main event slot at SummerSlam.
hmm Rest in peace and our condolences to him and his family. Does he have any family or any?
I'm sure he has family. I'm sure he has some family.
Yeah.
Everybody has some family, even if they don't talk to them or have any relationship with them. They still have some family.
That is true. True.
Yeah, and I like what Seth Rollins was talking about in an interview recently about how like wrestling's like in a boom period now. Like with the success of AEW with All In, and
I
also
agree with him.
WWE's.
I absolutely agree with him. I love the fact how we have two wrestling promotions now, man. Because like, look, ever since the downfall of WCW, I always said about how, man, I wish there was like another wrestling promotion that could. I mean, they're not gonna be, surpass WWE, but like, in a way, maybe kind of just give, combat WWE a little bit. We did have TNA. At one point, I did watch a little TNA, and I was like, "Oh, this is pretty interesting." You know what I mean? Like, I knew about AJ Styles, Samoa Joe, and Christopher Daniels is a very good wrestler who I like from TNA. But yeah, they had a very solid roster during that
Who
time.
was also
But
banned from Collision by CM Punk.
ooh, Christopher Daniels!
Yes, he was, and he was an
Holy
executive.
crap! Oh, Jesus! But anyway, I love his nickname, the Fallen Angel. I don't know if you knew that, but but yeah, like they had very solid roster, but like they're not really on par with WWE. They didn't really like challenge them like that, and I wanted that. So when AEW came in, they kind of really was sparring toe to toe with them, and I like it. I like the competition. If some people may see it like that, but I like it, and I really do feel like there is a bit of that boom period where that wrestling is becoming more interesting now. I've been saying this. We both been saying this since about like 2021, I believe. You know what I mean? So I really like how the way things are going with the business. I love it. I absolutely agree with Seth Rollins is saying.
Yeah, I'm a fan of it too. It's great to see that both companies are doing well, and that they're doing a lot of good business, and that the both products itself are consistently good, and that we literally have 5 wrestling shows on a week with Raw
Crazy.
Monday, Raw Monday, NXT Tuesday, Dynamite Wednesday, SmackDown Friday, and Collision Saturday, and even pay-per-views once a
Ooh,
month.
that's a lot. I mean, let's go back to the '90s. I mean, how many do we had like during that time? So we had Monday Night Raw, we had Nitro, um, we had Sunday Night Heat,
Thunder, we had
Thunder.
Thunder, we had
Um,
SmackDown at like the end of '99. We got
yeah,
SmackDown.
yeah.
I guess WCW Saturday Night you could throw in there. WCW Saturday Night
True.
you could
Are
throw in
we
there
just
too.
are we talking about just wrestling shows in general, or are we going to include like 30-minute talk shows too?
Nah, just like mainly wrestling shows. Like
But okay, okay, just
WCW Saturday Night was like their flagship show for a hot minute up until Nitro came along.
yeah, yeah.
I used to fuck with WCW Saturday Night heavy, son. Yeah, that shit was mad
Same.
popping.
That came on like in the mornings.
No, at night. Saturday, it's WCW Saturday Night, son. What the
Oh, the night. Oh, no. Because
bro?
I was just no. Maybe I was watching replay because you know how like the okay, WCW did a good job on their telecast because if I remember correctly, maybe if I'm wrong, they would show replays.
They would, yes, they would.
So if you missed Nitro or Thunder, or if you missed Saturday night, they would replay it. So I remember the reason why I said in the morning because I remember vaguely. I remember one morning it was on, so maybe it was like a replay.
Well, they had Saturday morning shows also, like WCW Pro Wrestling and WCW Main Event. But like WCW Saturday Night was like one of their more like flagship shows where like they would have like major stars on there. They would have kind of like a progression of storylines on there.
Hmm.
Yeah, it was a nice show. I enjoyed it. I watched it up
I
until
love the
about like
entrance. I love the
yeah,
entrance.
I watched it up until about 98, 99.
Hmm. I love their stage. I love how like they had like the futuristic doors, open, all that smoke will come out. It made it like I like that.
Yeah, 94 was such a good year. Like when I first started watching wrestling, that was like one of the first like major shows I would watch regularly. Yeah, such a good time, bro. Such a
Mm,
good fucking
yeah,
time. Good
but
year
yeah,
for
it's just
movies
crazy.
too.
Yeah, it's just crazy how like there's just a lot of just like at that time there's like a lot of wrestling programs pretty much throughout a week. But then when WCW fell off, you just had you literally just had you had your Monday Night Raw, you had SmackDown, You had Sunday Night Heat, and you had Velocity. Even though a lot of people are not going to check in and watch Heat and Velocity, though, but that was available throughout the week. That's pretty much all you had. And now you look at now, it was so much. I feel like managers so much on the plate to take in all in one week now.
Yeah, but it's great though. I'm happy to see wrestling be doing as well as it's been
Same,
doing, and that
same.
we have a lot more to talk about on this podcast every week, for better or worse. Because sometimes the
Yes,
news is not so happy. Bray Wyatt news being one example, but regardless, I'm just happy that wrestling is as popping as it is right now, and hopefully it stays popping like this for a long time to come. All right, so until next time, for John Randall, this is Kirk Cadet for another edition of the Clash of the Champions. Take care, God bless, and don't be an asshole in real life or on social media, because that shit is for the birds. God bless. Have a good one, guys.